Welcome back to Echoes from the Void. Tonight, the story turns sharper. Tonight, the land lifts its eyelids and finally looks at her. Maya did not sleep after what happened in the woods. She kept seeing the ash-covered man rising from the earth, kept hearing the scream that did not come from her throat, kept feeling the ground pulling at her ankles as if it wanted her back. In the morning, the cabin felt different. Still, heavy, holding its breath like something underneath was listening. Her grandmother barely spoke during breakfast. She stirred her tea long after the sugar dissolved. Her hands shook each time Maya moved. Then came the sound, a low rumble beneath the cabin floor, slow, deep, like something dragging its body under the wood. The plates on the table trembled. The candle flame bent sideways. The floorboards rose for a moment under Maya's feet, as if something underneath had pushed upward to check where she stood. Noah grabbed her arm. "What is happening to this place?" Before she could answer, the rumble stopped. Not faded, stopped, like a breath held too long. Then the whisper followed. It came from beneath the floor, from the walls, from the frost on the windows. A layered, broken voice that said only one thing. "Come back." The room fell silent. Her grandmother finally looked at her. "Maya, the land wants something, and you are the one who hears it the clearest." Maya's chest tightened. She remembered the vision from the night before. Tamas running through smoke, children screaming, shadows rising from the burnt earth, and the feeling that she had been there, not in a dream, but as if her blood had once carried those memories. She stepped outside for air. The cold hit harder than ever. The frost was thicker, piled like layers of ash pressed into snow, and in the center of the yard, something new waited for her. A line of footprints, not circling the cabin this time, not wandering, a straight path leading deep into the forest. The prints were large, heavy, pressed so deep that the ground had sunk around them. But what terrified her was not the footprints themselves. It was the way the frost around them had melted into the shape of hands, as if something had crawled beside the walker, pulling its body forward with bony fingers. Noah stepped behind her. "We are not following that." But the whisper returned, soft, insistent. "Maya." Her legs moved before she could think. The pull in her chest was too strong, like a hook lodged behind her ribs, dragging her forward. They followed the footprints into the woods. The trees grew tighter, leaning inward as if to listen. Frost drifted from the branches like falling dust from old ceilings. The air grew warmer near the ground, wrongly warm, as if the earth beneath them was alive. Then they saw it, a clearing, perfectly round, silent, and in the center, a pit in the earth, black soil exposed like an old wound. Steam rose from it. Maya knelt at the edge. Her pulse matched the slow throb rising from below. She heard it again, the voice that did not belong to any living throat. "Come back to us." The world tilted. Her vision blurred, and suddenly she was somewhere else. Smoke filled the sky. Children ran through a burning village. Drums pounded in panic. Tamas stood over a fallen woman, her hand reaching toward him, her fingers coated in ash. Shadows with torches rushed through the trees. The air tasted of betrayal. The ground split open beneath them. Not breaking. Opening. The way a mouth opens to release a cry held for generations. The land showed her everything. The feast that ended in fire. the peace that shattered under false smiles, the ancestors who buried their dead in this soil, and the spirits who rose to hold the truth when no one else would. Maya gasped and fell backward into the cold. Noah held her. "What happened? What did you see?" She stared at the pit, at the steam, at the pulse in the earth. "They never left," she whispered, "and they are not done." The ground beneath the pit shifted, lifting as if something underneath had finally started to rise. The night did not fall on the cabin. It dropped. One moment, there was a dull grey light through the trees. The next, the world outside turned black, like someone had pulled a curtain over the sky. Maya stood at the window and watched the last smear of daylight disappear. The frost on the glass glowed faintly, catching the last color, then sank into a lifeless white. It looked like dried bone. The footprints were already there. She had not seen them forming this time. They were simply there. A ring of bare prints in the frost, a circle drawn tight around the cabin. No breaks, no gaps. "Do you feel that?" Noah whispered behind her. She did. The floor beneath her feet hummed. Not loud, not violent. Just a low vibration, steady and patient, like a heartbeat she did not want to meet. Their grandparents sat at the table in the next room. They had not touched their food in an hour. The masks on the wall seemed to lean forward, as if they were listening for something. Maya closed her eyes. The memory from the last episode slammed into her again. Fire in a cornfield, Thomas running with a child in his arms, faces lit orange by flames, white cloth, steel glint, shouts she could not understand. The land shaking beneath all of it. She gripped the window frame until her knuckles went pale. "They are closer tonight," her grandmother said quietly without turning around. "Who?" Noah snapped. "Who is closer? Can you just say it already?" Her grandfather finally looked up. His eyes were red and tired, but clear. "The ones who never left," he said. "The ones this house sits on, the ones this country pretends not to hear." The lights flickered, once, twice, then went out. Darkness swallowed the cabin. For a second there was nothing but breathing. Noah's quick, her grandmother's shallow, her own loud in her ears. Then a faint, colorless light rolled in through the windows. Not moonlight, not any light she knew. It was like the color of frost itself. The masks on the wall were no longer just wood. Their eyes glistened. Their mouths seemed to open just a little wider. Maya stepped away from the window. The floor under the table bulged upward. Once. Twice. Like something beneath the boards was stretching after a long sleep. "What do they want?" she asked. Her voice felt thin. The answer did not come from her grandparents. It came from the ground. Her ears heard nothing, but her mind filled with a thick, layered whisper. Voices on top of voices, centuries pressed into a single breath. Justice, memory, witness. She staggered, one hand to her head. Noah grabbed her arm. "Maya, hey, stay with me." The cabin shifted. The walls pulled in slightly like the whole structure had inhaled. The air smelled of smoke that was not there. Old smoke, the kind that clings to clothes for years. For a split second, she saw another room overlaid on the cabin. Not her grandparents' furniture. Rough wooden shapes. Wampanoag figures gathered, faces tight with worry. Tama standing, talking fast, his hands moving as he pointed towards the forest. Then the vision snapped away, leaving only the cabin. "They are overlapping," Maya whispered. "The nights, the years, our time and theirs." Her grandfather nodded slowly. The closer they come, the thinner the line gets. The front door creaked. No one had touched it. It shivered in its frame, then began to open. Not all the way, just a slow, patient gap, letting in that strange frost-colored light. The ash man stood on the porch. From this close, Maya could see more of him. Ash clung to his skin in uneven patches, as if parts of him had burned and reformed. His eyes were not empty after all. There were shapes in them, reflected flames, faces, something shifting deep inside. He did not step inside. He did not need to. His presence pushed into the room like cold water. Maya's breath hitched. Her chest felt tighter, but her mind sharpened. "You showed me what they did," she said. "The betrayal, the burnings, the lies they told after." The ash man tilted his head slightly. The frost on the floor near the door thickened. "What do you want from me?" she asked. The answer came through his mouth, but it was not his voice. It was the same layered chorus she had heard in her head, the land speaking through him. "We wanted to be heard. We wanted to be carried. We wanted to change the living." Maya swallowed. "You want revenge?" The frost hissed softly, like it was offended by the word. "Revenge is for the quick. We are not quick. We are patient." Images pressed into her thoughts. Unmarked graves, fields plowed through burial grounds, tourists taking photos over places where bones still lay. Noah stepped between her and the door, his fists clenched. "You cannot have her," he said. His voice shook, but he stood firm. "Whatever you want, take it somewhere else." The ash man's eyes moved to him. For the first time, the cabin grew colder in a way that felt dangerous. The voices in Maya's head shifted. She felt the weight of judgment, but it was not pointed at Noah. The land did not hate him. It hated what he did not know. Maya understood, finally. "You do not want a body," she said slowly. "You want a mouth." The voices quieted, not gone, listening. "You want someone who saw the lie, who felt what you felt, to tell it, in a world that keeps pretending it never happened." The porch boards creaked under the ashman's feet. Behind him, past the open door, the forest was no longer just trees. She could see people standing between the trunks, half made of shadow, half of memory. Some wore the clothes of Tamas's time. Others wore clothes from later decades, later centuries, all watching the cabin, all watching her. Her grandmother began to cry quietly, not loud sobs, the kind of crying that comes when someone realizes they have been living on top of a wound. "What price?" Maya whispered. "There's always a price," the chorus answered. "You will belong to both. You will walk in one time and dream in another. You will never be fully believed. You will never be fully free." Her stomach knotted. She thought of leaving this place, finishing school, moving to a city where the worst sound at night was traffic. She thought of never hearing the heartbeat under the floor again. The cabin shuddered. For a split second she saw fire again. Thomas on his knees, hands buried in the dirt, screaming words she could not understand. Not begging, not pleading, calling, calling the land. It had answered once. Now it was asking her. Noah grabbed her shoulders. "Maya, you do not owe them anything. This is not your fault." She looked at him. "That is the problem," she said softly. "It was never just about fault. It is about who chooses to listen and who keeps eating at the table like nothing happened." The ash man lifted his hand, palm open. The frost near the doorway melted in a small circle, exposing the dark wood beneath. It was not just wood. Beneath the boards, she saw another layer. Soil, bone shapes, roots wrapped around something pale. A circle, a place of choosing. If she stepped forward, she knew nothing would be the same. If she did not, the land would not forget. It would just keep pressing, harder, until it found someone else. Maybe no one would be able to carry it as cleanly. Maybe it would come out in uglier ways. Her grandparents watched her, eyes wide with fear and guilt and something else. Hope. "Maya, please," Noah whispered. "Do not let them use you." She almost laughed. The land did not want to use her. It wanted to speak through her. There was a difference, a terrifying one. She took a step towards the door. The air thickened. The frost on the ceiling began to spider out in delicate lines, tracing the shape of something old and circular. She stopped just before the melted patch of floor. "You will not touch him," she said, nodding toward Noah. "Or them." She glanced back at her grandparents. "If I do this, it is me and you, no one else." The voices swelled, like 100 people murmuring in a storm. "Witness, carrier, bound." The ash man lowered his hand slightly, accepting her terms, or pretending to. She could not tell. But the cold pulled back from Noah by a fraction. Maya stepped onto the bare wood. Heat shot through her foot. Not warmth. Heat, like stepping onto a stone that had soaked in fire for years. The cabin fractured. Not physically. Layers of time slid over each other like sheets of glass. For a moment, she was inside the cabin and inside Thomas's longhouse at the same time. Fire lit the walls. People shouted. Thomas looked straight at her, though he should not have been able to see her. His eyes were hollowed with grief, but there was something steady in them. "You are late," he said, in a language she did not know, but she understood anyway. "I am here," she answered. The spirits behind the ash man moved closer. Their feet did not disturb the frost outside. They did not need to. The land itself carried them. Voices poured through her, not gently. They rushed in like a river that had been held back too long. Names, dates, places where the soil still churned at night, broken promises, fields planted over bones. Her body shook. Noah tried to reach her, but hit an invisible barrier. His hand flattened against the air as if the cabin had grown a second, unseen wall. "Maya!" he shouted. She heard him, but his voice sounded far away, like someone calling from another room in a burning house. The land wrapped itself around her mind, not to erase her, to add to her. She saw this same cabin in a dozen different autumns, people laughing at tables, football games on muted televisions, stories told about peaceful meals and friendly feasts. Not one of them mentioned the fire. Her own voice rose, but it was not just hers anymore. "They fed them," she said slowly. "They sheltered them. They shared the harvest. And in the night, they came back with fire. They wrote another story after, one that made them heroes. They buried the truth here, under houses, under schools, under holidays." Her grandparents bowed their heads. Noah stared, eyes wide, as if seeing her for the first time. The ash man stepped back from the door. The circle of frost outside widened, as if the land were making space. This was not the end. This was an opening. The voices inside her quieted just enough for one clear thought. This is the night of answers. Tomorrow will be the day of judgment. The cabin exhaled again. The heartbeat under the floor matched her own. Outside, the forest leaned in, listening. And somewhere beneath the frost and roots and forgotten bones, something that had waited for centuries finally relaxed, just a little. Thank you for listening to Echoes from the Void. If the story stayed with you, let it sit in the back of your mind tonight. If you want to hear what the land does when it finally stops waiting, subscribe. The final reckoning is coming in the next episode of The Feast They Never Left.